Hello guys, this is me again, Leo from Codes and Posters, and today I'm going to talk about this quote here, which is: "The intelligent want self-control, children want candy," by Rumi. Alright, so the intelligent want self-control, children want candy. It's a very interesting quote by this very ancient philosopher Rumi. And Rumi is great because he has very beautiful and very philosophical, deep quotes. If you follow. If you read through his work, you're going to see there are thousands of quotes that he created, and it's almost like Rumi. It's similar to that other Chinese philosopher, old philosopher called Confucius. They are great. They're all great philosophers and amazing thinkers that gave a big contribution to the world. And what I think is interesting about this quote is that it kind of plays around the idea that what you really want in your life, or where you want to ultimately take your life, is to live a life of self-control, right? To live a life where you can actually control your actions, and you want to control your thoughts, you know. You want to be like, you don't want to act by impulse, right? Or basically, you don't want to follow the bad advices that sometimes your ego, and by ego I mean your brain, sometimes gives you, right? Because your brain, your ego, really it gives you bad advice all the time. I don't know if you notice this, right? But for example, sometimes you are your ego plays with your emotions, and like, for example, imagine that you are in a situation where you are in a party and you haven't been in a party with free alcohol and very good alcohol being served for months or maybe years, and then suddenly you are in this party where everything's free and you can drink as much as you want, and you are in good company. You are with people that really you enjoy hanging out with, and then you say to yourself, like, you know that drinking is bad for you, is bad for your health, but at the same time you just go and say to yourself, oh no, I'm just gonna have one drink here, I'm gonna have one glass of champagne here. And then you finish your champagne, and the waiter brings you one more. And then your brain kind of starts, you start to have conversations with your brain, like, oh, should I drink the second, should I drink the third? But the entire environment and the entire situation also makes you realize, and your brain gives you this stupid advice of oh fuck it, just let's drink, let's just enjoy this night, let's just have a blast, and let's just do like the whatever the fuck we want to do. And then you just go into drinking the second, the third, the fourth, and then you just get totally out of your control. And then maybe there are drugs, and then you go into drugs also, and these things, right? And so many people they live their lives like this, and many people they just go, they spiral totally out of control in their lives, and they just live a frenetic, neurotic kind of life, dictated by their ego and not without any kind of self-control, right? Right, so this is something that happens to every one of us, I think. And each one of us have different addictions, right? Like, for example, I can tell you from my personal experience that I don't smoke, and I never smoked. And to be quite honest, I never understood the concept of smoking and why people just spend their money buying something to fill their lungs with shit. Never understood that. But I do drink, and worst of drinking, actually, I take caffeine. You know, I drink caffeine. Not anymore, but I used to. And I used to be addicted to caffeine because I didn't believe that caffeine was a drug, because society didn't tell me that caffeine was a drug. Nobody in my family told me that caffeine was a drug, and nobody in my friends' social circle told me caffeine was a drug, and nobody on television told me that caffeine was a drug. And then I just had to figure out that caffeine was a drug by myself, when I just saw myself in a desperate situation where I was drinking 8 cups a day of caffeine. And then I just realized by myself, I had to go through that shit to realize by myself that caffeine was a drug, because nobody else in my life told me that. And even doctors, I went even to doctors. And then you can understand how shitty the situation is, and how shitty society, how blind society is to some topics like this. For example, when I went to a doctor to complain to the doctor that I was feeling tired all the time, and I told him that I was drinking 8 cups of coffee, and doctor didn't say anything. This doctor didn't, instead of telling me that caffeine was a drug, he didn't say anything about that. He just recommended me. He thought in his mind that my problem with tiredness was lack of vitamin D. So he made me do a blood test, which in fact, in some certain extent, he was right. I had a vitamin D deficiency, which he gave me some vitamin D injections, which actually helped me a lot with my metabolism, with my mood. But nevertheless, after a couple of months, I was still drinking the coffee. And after a couple of months, I went back to being tired again, even though I still had vitamin D in my blood. So actually I had to really research. I have to do my research by myself to realize that caffeine was a drug. So I had to actually really spend a really bad time detoxing myself from caffeine. And I made a detox. It was terrible. Like, I spent literally 1 month totally unproductive, not being able to function properly. But I managed to spend 3 months without caffeine. I managed to spend 3 months without any drop of caffeine in my body. And though that was amazing, so it was an amazing feeling that I was having. This feeling of waking up with energy, not waking up tired, and having some steady energy through your entire day. So imagine like you wake up and you spend 16 hours of your day with the very same amount of energy without experiencing these highs and these lows and these crashes, like afternoon crashes and all of that. This is what happens when you quit caffeine. You really have like 16 hours of steady energy. And obviously you're not high, so you're not like thinking very, you're not like having thoughts and having thinkings in the same speed or with the same passion and enthusiasm that you used to have when I drink coffee. But it doesn't matter, because you at the same time you don't experience the crash. So that's what a drug does. A drug does that. It disrupts your metabolism. It disrupts your brain, and it tricks your brain. And then obviously there's this famous quote saying that there's no free lunch. And this quote, there's no free lunch, also applies to your body and also applies to nature. If you take something out of nature, something else is being some effect is being caused. So if you cut a tree, there's gonna be some effect. You cannot extract from nature, or you cannot manipulate and trick nature without having a side effect after. Every action, there's a reaction. That's something very important for you to learn, and that's something that you can't escape. And we as humans, we try to manipulate things, and the entire world is a huge manipulation scheme. We try to manipulate our bodies. We try to manipulate so many things, but we can't. In reality, we belong to nature, and nature belongs to us, and everything is connected, right? So the more we try to manipulate, the worse side effects we're gonna experience in the future, and we are already experiencing, right? We are reaching unsustainable points in many aspects, right? But that's not what this quote is actually about. I'm kind of deviating a little bit from the main topic of this quote, which is self-control, right? How that you're going to develop, and how are you going to master self-control in your life, and not act by impulse, or not act how the way your brain, your thoughts wants you to act, because your brain is going to trick you, and it has already tricked you many times. There's no easy answer in how you're going to do that, because you simply can't stop your brain, and you cannot stop your thoughts to come by. So you're always going to have thoughts, okay? There's always going to be thoughts in your life, in your mind. But what you can do, you can actually start to realize, and you can start to understand that some of these thoughts that you're having, they are not for your well-being. They are not serious. They are just thoughts fabricated by your brain because they are deep down in your subconscious. And the reason you're having these thoughts is because your mind wants to preserve, your ego cares about your self preservation. So your ego wants you to survive. And then because of that, because of self-survival of the ego, your mind produce these thoughts in an attempt to make you worried. So because you're worried, you're going to be aware of some aspects of some things that your subconscious recorded from previous experience that happened in the past, that your brain and your mind recorded as traumatic events. And because of these traumas, now you're having like a collection of events inside your mind, inside your subconscious minds. You're having like this kind of collection that produce now, based on these collections, your current thinking and your current thoughts, they are produced based on that to give you warning signs. Like, because for example, if you got cheated by a business partner in the future, that was a trauma, that was a traumatic event that happened to you, and that your mind now is going to give you automatically this thought that whenever you're gonna go into business again, your mind is going to bring you this constant thinking that you should have everything documented, and you should have everything signed on paper and etc. And you should be 100% cautious about that, right? Because you already experienced this pain, right? So for example, if you had a childhood and something that you did in your life created a very painful, a very traumatic experience, like for example, you as a child put your finger on the power plug, on the electricity, and then you just had an electrical shock. That computes to your brain as a traumatic event, and that goes into your subconscious, and that stays within your subconscious through the rest of your life. This was a traumatic event that happened it happened at some point in your life, and then stays as a traumatic event. And then because of that, you're always, whenever you're gonna see electricity or electrical plug, your brain, your mind subconsciously is going to remember this traumatic event, and is going to give you thoughts, and is going to give you advices on actually how you shouldn't touch that again, or you shouldn't do that again, so you don't experience this pain anymore. So imagine like you have hundreds of these events, hundreds of them, and basically these events, they kind of dictate your life now, because there's also a study and there's also a quote that I designed about that says that 95% or 99%, I don't remember, but like a huge percentage of your life are dictated by your subconscious mind, right? So you got to be really you got to be really smart and really understand this concept and the concept of the subconscious mind, so you actually can relate to this quote here about having self-control. Because when you understand that, then you can go back through your life, and maybe you can try to do some therapy. I never personally experienced and tried therapy in my life, but I have some friends and I know some people who did, and what they tell me is that a good therapist actually he does this work of trying to go through your subconscious and trying to dig some events that happened in the past of your life that made you really become what you are now. So for example, if you're having like a problem of self-confidence, is because in the past you were very confident about something, but then some traumatic event happened, and then because of this traumatic or this series of traumatic events happened, you just suddenly lost all your confidence. And this is something that totally happens with me. Like I lack self-confidence a lot, right? I lack self-confidence in my life, right? And I have to go through the stuff that happened in the past with me, and I pretty know why I lack self-confidence, because every time in my life in the past where I was very confident about myself and very clear that I could perform something and that I could execute something, something totally out of my control happened, that I failed and that I was a failure. And then this notion of failure was a traumatic event for me, because I was very much influenced by society, and this society, like at least in the environment where I grew up in, I was like very much into not wanting to fail, and because I failed, I punished myself, and my mind punished myself. It creates these traumatic experiences, you know. And then suddenly I just start to question myself. You just start to question, okay, so maybe you're not that good enough. Maybe you're not that great as you thought you were. And then you start to second guess yourself and having these bad ideas about yourself, which are totally bullshit, you know. And you actually see that successful people, they don't have this. Successful people, they know that failing is part of the process, and they know about their potential, and they know about that sometimes they will fail, but they are aware that at some point, because they are very confident about themselves and about their doing, they know that nothing really, no failure, every failure is momentary, and they know that they're going to keep insisting on something, you know. But basically that's it, what I have to say. I had many other things that I could say about this quote, which is a very interesting quote, but I'll leave it for a next episode with a different quote. Thank you very much, and see you again.